Hey everyone, it's Dr. Laura Pence here, and this is the video series Understanding Your Greatest Self, where I help you elevate yourself, gain greater awareness so that you can live the life that you're looking forward to. Okay, so we're in the month of March, right? And we're talking about how does the past impact me in the present. And on Tuesday's episode, I had you identify 2 people whose impact in the past is showing up for you in the present. And today we're going to explore that a little bit more and unpack specifically what happens when somebody from the past has impacted you in a negative way, and that's showing up for you in the present. I used the example of an individual who in grade school was sort of separated from the class by a particular teacher who picked on them or identified them as the disruptive individual, and so they were put in this position of being separated. And then now in the present, they find themselves when they're among peers or, in large work groups, separating themselves just instinctively because that was done so often in the past in that relationship with that teacher, right? Now, if we look at that example, I hope all of us can identify that that's not a great thing, right? That we want to be able to show up. We want to feel like we belong, right? So one of the first ways that we begin to change the impact that somebody has on us in the present is to know it, right? And to name it. Because we can't change what we don't know or what we don't name, right? So I want you to think about that a little bit. Is there somebody from the past who's showing up in my present and their impact from the past is showing up in the now that is resulting in me engaging with the world in a way that I don't want to, right? So ask yourself that question and get to know that answer and get to know specifically how they're impacting you. So for the example that I gave, that individual might identify that the impact that the relationship they had with that teacher has in the now is that they're shrinking away in group experiences, right? They're shrinking away from peers and feel like they don't belong. Now, the next part of that process, this is a really important piece, right? And here, what you want to do is name the story that is then associated with it, okay? So try and identify what is the story that I began to believe in the past, and is that story showing up for me in the present? So in the example that I gave, the story may be for that little child, I don't belong. And now in the present, in the current, when that individual is among peers, they feel, I don't belong, right? And so they're telling themselves that story, I don't belong in group settings. And that was seeded in the past, showing up in the present. Now, the last way that you begin to change, right, is then to begin to unpack that story and really ask yourself if that story is seated in truth and reality and begin to challenge it some. So that individual might say, well, that teacher made me feel that way, but that wasn't fair. I was just a kid who had lots of energy and wanted to be super social. I belonged. She just had a difficult time managing my behavior. And maybe I had a difficult time managing my emotions. But that doesn't mean that I didn't belong. So I want you to think about, again, what is the story that I'm bringing from the past into the current, into the present? And how can I begin to refute that story? How can I begin to rewrite that story so that it serves me better in the now? So that individual might rewrite it in that way, right? That I had emotions that were difficult for that teacher, but I absolutely belong. And so how can I show up now in the present with my peer group in a way that's meaningful, in a way that leaves me fulfilled as opposed to edged out of the group? Okay? So your key question of the week is, what story do you need to begin unpacking as it relates to the relationship with the individual from the past and its impact on the present? All right, so a lot of stuff, right? I mean, this is like some deep stuff that would usually take individuals weeks to work through. So really take your time with some of this stuff. Just know that even though this video might be 4 or 5 minutes long, your process in really getting yourself to change might be a little bit longer than that. Because the stuff that we bring in from the past can impact us so profoundly in the present, and it's difficult for us to change. It doesn't mean at all that it's not possible. That's why I'm here doing this series for you, to tell you that it's absolutely possible, but it can be difficult, okay? So stick with it, because I know you can do it. All right, so come back next week. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit about family and how family impacts you in the present. Make sure you're showing up for that episode. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next week. Bing, burp, burp. Bing, burp.